Hey guys, welcome back to Growing Money with Sean Trace. I'm going to share a little bit something different that I'm doing today. So you know what this podcast is all going to be about. These are going to be some of the shorts, solo podcasts I'm doing. Try to get them out every Friday, in between when I have guests on. And the whole point of these is to share concepts that I'm trying to teach Ailani, but I'm narrating them through the lens of the zombie apocalypse, which is a great, fun thing that I always like to talk about, because it helps me reframe financial concepts in a fun, interesting way for my daughter, Ailani. So for this segment, I'm going to be telling Ailani some stories and telling people some stories about the zombie apocalypse and small situations and scenarios that Ailani has to engage with to survive, including taking out zombies, like her former teacher, Miss Amber. Yes, Miss Amber, we're sorry, but you're a zombie now. So Ailani's going to have to do what she has to do. Now, this zombie apocalypse is a fun way to look at things and financial things that are going to be important for me to teach my child, because learning finance should be fun. It should be interesting. So without further ado, let's dive into chapter 1. Ailani was sitting inside of the tent that she had set up outside of the city. Inside the tent, she looked around. There wasn't much to help her remember home or to remember anything that was normal before it happened. She had a small flashlight that she shone around the room, shone around the tent, I should say, and she was looking to see if there was anything that she could eat, because at this moment, she was hungry. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small candy bar. It wasn't much, but it was something that would get rid of the hunger at this moment. She opened it up and took a bite. She dug deeper into her bag and found some old photos. She pulled out a photo of her dad and her mom, and it made her cry a little bit. She hadn't seen them in months, and though she knew that they were probably still alive, she was separated from them, and honestly, a little bit scared. A sound outside the tent made her jump. In this world, sounds were bad because, well, generally they meant something was trying to eat you. Ailani picked up her trusty pickaxe. It wasn't a big pickaxe, but it was big enough to do some damage, and held it in her hand. The rustling continued. Now the sound was growing louder. Now, first of all, we need to backtrack a little bit before we dive into what happens next. Now, Ailani is your typical 10-year-old. She likes to go to school. Well, she did like to go to school. She loves playing piano. Well, she liked playing piano when she had time for that. She loved her puppies. Doesn't know where they're at right now. And honestly, she's pretty normal. Her favorite teacher was a teacher named Miss Amber. Miss Amber was fun. Miss Amber was her English teacher. And Ailani would read fun books. And she loved this one book series about zombies. But you know what was fun about that? It was fun because zombies weren't real. Well, they weren't real. That was before it happened. Well, it being the zombie apocalypse. Ailani was living in the middle of it. Miss Amber would always give her credits for writing the most fun zombie stories. And Ailani had a blast. Miss Amber had this bright red hair. She was bigger than life, and she was fun. And Miss Amber had the ability to take any activity that Ailani would do and make it awesome. Oh, we're back in the tent now. Ailani's holding on to her pickaxe, and she's staring toward the flap in the tent. It's zipped up mostly, but this is an old tent, and it's kind of beat up, and it doesn't close all the way. So Ailani's clutching her axe tight. And while she's clutching that axe, she's thinking in her head about all of the different things that it could be. A squirrel, a raccoon, a zombie. Slowly, she leans toward the door and looks outside, and her worst fear is confirmed. The slow shuffle of a zombie can be seen as this creature moves toward the tent. Ailani takes a breath and shudders a little bit. That was all the sound that the zombie needed. It begins to move faster, and she can hear it closing in on the tent. The hand of the undead reaches down and begins to peel back the tent, and Ailani does what she has to do. She takes the pickaxe and plunges it into the zombie's head, into Miss Amber's head. Ailani is overwhelmed as the head of her English teacher takes the full length of her pickaxe. This is the zombie world that Ailani's living in. It's not fun. And it's pretty challenging for Ailani right now. Now, as she sits in this zombie world, she's facing a whole new set of challenges, like being eaten by Miss Amber. Now, luckily, Ailani was able to deal with the zombie threat, that being Miss Amber. No one ever wants to have to put down the undead version of their English teacher, but Ailani had to. And there was lots of things that she had to deal with in that time, in that place, in that world, the world of the undead. Now, Ailani is living in this new world, and this new world comes with a large set of challenges. The first being, she doesn't know where she's going to get her food, her next meal, or anything else that might be important to her survival. And survive she will. Survive she must. Ailani's mommy and daddy are still alive. Well, hopefully, we're going to find out later in the story. But she is on a quest to find them and to not just survive, but thrive. But in this moment, the most important thing Ailani has to learn is one simple thing: surviving wants versus needs. Ailani is in this world, a world where resources are limited. No one's making food anymore. No one at this time and in this area is growing crops. And Ailani only has one thing that she can carry. That is her backpack. Now, the backpack is important because in that trusty backpack are all of the things that she needs. Maybe a few things that she wants, but that backpack has limited space. She can only carry so many things, and until she finds a bigger, better backpack, she has limited space, which forces her to decide a couple things. What does she want, and what things does she need? Okay? Now, as she comes across let's imagine a situation. Ailani comes across a small shop, and there's lots of different items in this shop. Okay? Some are practical things like water bottles and canned food. Others are appealing but non-essential, like a small stuffed animal or extra clothing. Now, as Ailani looks at all of these items, Ailani's going to feel a pull toward the items that remind her of better days. Things like maybe the Nintendo Switch, slime. I mean, what kid doesn't like slime? I know I do. Maybe a water gun. All types of fun things that, when the world was a better place, were awesome. Let's be real. Slime is cool. Let's be real. Nintendo Switch is very real. It's very fun. Okay? But when Ailani is in survival, she knows that survival essentials must come first. Things that can keep her safe. Things that can help her survive. Now, the thought of leaving some of these familiar items behind makes her feel sad, not happy. And this is something that a lot of us can deal with. In our daily lives, when we see fun things that we really like, it's hard to say, I don't need that. Well, I don't have space for that right now. Because let's imagine Ailani has the space for 10 items in her bag. And she buys slime, she buys a Nintendo Switch, She gets a big Xbox. She says, you know what? I want a nice TV in here too. She buys an iPad, gets everything that she wants. But then when she leaves, and a day or two later, and she's hungry, and there was no food, no water, no clothes, she's not going to be so happy when she's sitting there naked with no food and water. Now, Ailani has to make a decision. She has to try to look at the importance of each object and ask herself what she truly needs to survive. And what is simply a want that might wear her down, slow her down, and not help her in the future. To do this and to make this decision, the first and most important thing is to define needs versus wants. Now, what is a need? Needs are things that are essential, like things you can't survive without: food, water, shelter. Versus wants are going to be items that you might like, you might love, you might enjoy, but you could live without them if necessary. For me, in my life, well, this computer is a need. My microphone is a need because I work in podcasting. This beautiful beanbag chair over here, that's very fun, very nice to sit in, very fluffy, is definitely a want. I don't need it to survive. And truth be told, if I had to, I could probably podcast on my phone. It might not be as nice, but I could do it. So, this computer, even though I think I need it, could be a want. But food is a need. If I don't have food, I will get very hungry. I'll get very grumpy. I'll probably die. And I don't want to die. No one wants to die. We need food. We need water. And we also need shelter. We need something that goes over our head. We need these basic things that are important to us, that are keeping us alive, keeping us safe. Now, we go through our lives feeling very safe. In my day-to-day life, I don't have to fight off zombies. You probably don't have to as well. But sometimes people do have to deal with survival situations. Maybe there's a forest fire in your area. Maybe flooding. Maybe, hopefully not, a war. Now, in an emergency, carrying too many things that you don't need can lead to problems like getting tired, fatigue, and distraction. If I'm spending all of my time playing my Nintendo Switch, which I don't even know if I'll have power for, and I'm not paying attention to the zombies or to where I'm going to find food, then it could distract me and get me in trouble. Now, Ailani, in this zombie world, is going to prioritize her needs. And hopefully, if you were there, you would too. Now, we're going to try to help you learn how to make choices that support survival and well-being. Because if you're not taking care of your needs first, you're going to have some problems later on. And there's just not going to be enough room. Let's imagine you get all of your needs, but you don't have your pickaxe. All right, that's a problem. Because suddenly a zombie comes up like Miss Amber, and you need to take that zombie out, or she's going to take you out. And you don't have that pickaxe, you are going to have a problem. So you need to think about all of the things that you need. Now, how can we do this challenge together? Well, we're going to do an activity right now. This is our fun activity. It is called the Practical Tools for Decision Making. And what is the test? It is the backpack test. Now, imagine that you have a backpack and you are only going to choose items that provide direct help in a survival situation. Okay? Now, if an item is not needed, you need to skip it. It should be left behind. Here's a question that you need to ask. Will this item help keep me safe or healthy? And the second question is, do I absolutely need this? Or do I just like the idea of having it? Now, I want you to think about what you're going to put in your backpack and decide also what Ailani should put in hers. Here is a checklist of some possible items. Canned food, water bottle, first aid kit, extra clothes, flashlight, some stuffed animals, compass, snack, Nintendo Switch, markers, pizza cutter, slime, and bubble gum. I want you to make 2 lists. All the items that you need and all the items that you want right now. All right? Let's make those 2 lists. Put everything down that you might need and everything down that you really would want. All right? Here we go. Now, part 2. Now we're going to take those lists and I want you to pick the 10 items that are most important to you. Are you ready? All right. That's a great list. Now, what items were hard to leave behind? And why? For me, you know what was really hard to leave behind? My beanbag chair. I love that beanbag chair. But I also know that in the zombie apocalypse, it's not the most important thing that I have. It's fun, it's comfortable, and it is squishy, but it's not a need. And plus, it doesn't fit in my backpack so easy. Did you choose anything because it was comforting, even if it wasn't essential? Yeah, you know what Ailani brought? She made room for her Nintendo Switch because she recognized that she needed at least one thing that she wanted, something that would make the stressful time a little less stressful. And that's okay. We fill our needs first, but having some wants is an okay thing to do, just as long as the wants are not more than our needs and we're not having some needs that are unmet. All right, let's finish up this lesson. Now, Ailani is sitting back in her tent. She dispatched of Miss Amber and decides that this is probably not a pretty safe location. So she needs to get ready to move. And she starts looking back at her final selection of things that are going to go in her bag. And you know what? And she feels really proud for making tough but smart choices, even if it meant leaving some things that she wanted behind. Now, just like Ailani, you can put things in your bag that are going to help you in the future. Now, how does this apply to real life? Well, realize that sometimes when we prioritize needs over wants, it's not just for survival situations, but it can help us in our everyday life. If I'm going and buying a bunch of things that I want, I'm not going to have money for the things that I need, like food. If Ailani's daddy goes and buys 25 beanbag chairs, it will be awesome. My room will be so squishy, and it will be fun, and it will be wonderful. But you know what? It's not going to help my financial situation. And it's probably not the smartest decision I could make. So this is me teaching myself to focus on wants. No, focus on needs over wants. Now, I'm sharing this with you, and I'm sharing this with all of you to help remember that when we teach children about financial needs versus wants, it's easier if we can make it fun. And the difference between needs versus wants, and knowing this difference, can make us stronger and more resilient. Now, Ailani's journey will continue, and it will bring new challenges and lessons about survival and resourcefulness. Now, I'm going to outline a bunch of different financial concepts that are important for me to teach my daughter, and also important for Ailani to learn. Now, I hope you guys are having a beautiful day and can appreciate the dangers of the zombie apocalypse.